On a brisk September dawn in the year 1066, the rolling fields of northern England were about to become the graveyard of 1,000 ambitions. Under a clear English sky, warriors from across the northern seas faced the shield walls of a kingdom fighting for survival. It was not just a battle for territory, it was a clash of the worlds. The twilight of the Norse age met the rising dawn of medieval kingship, and only one could endure. The rivers lay calm that morning, but the horizon did not. From the pale mist of the sea rose a forest of sails, ghostly shadows against the light. Their prows bore the shapes of beasts, dragons with gaping jaws, serpents coiled in eternal strike, ravens with piercing eyes. It was no mere raid, it was an invasion. At the head of this fleet stood Ragnar Ironfist, king of the Northlands, a warrior whose reputation stretched from the walls of Constantinople to the steppes of Rus. His banner, the Stormbreaker, snapped in the sea wind, the same banner that had flown over battlefields across 2 continents. Ragnar was no ordinary monarch. He was a soldier hardened by fire, once a commander in the fabled Varangian Guard of Byzantium, now returned with treasures in gold and scars etched by decades of war. Beside him sailed Osric Godwine, once an Earl of Northumbria, now an exile consumed by bitterness. Younger brother to King Edmund of England, Osric's loyalty was long since shattered. Rejected by his people, stripped of title and land, he sought vengeance in Ragnar's cause. For him, this war was not about kingdoms. It was about revenge against a brother who had cast him aside. The fleet numbered more than 300 ships, perhaps closer to 350, bearing upward of 8,000 men. Veterans clad in mail, archers with ash bows, and the dreaded Huskels with their long-hafted axes. Their oars churned the sea in perfect rhythm, the sound echoing like drums of doom. They sailed into the Humber River with practiced grace, slipping into England's waterways as if they belonged to them. Villages along the banks were set alight, black smoke rising as the Norse tide pushed inland. Their first true challenge came on September the 20th at Fulford Gate, where 2 English lords, Ealdred of Mercia and Morcar of Northumbria, raised their banners to resist. The clash was swift and merciless. Ragnar's men absorbed the English charge, then surged forward in brutal counterattack. English lines shattered, many drowning in the marshes, others cut down as they fled. York, jewel of the north, had little choice but to yield. Ragnar demanded hostages and provisions, and for a moment it seemed his conquest was unstoppable. But in his triumph, Ragnar made one fatal assumption. He believed King Edmund of England still lingered in the south, tethered by the threat of Duke William of Normandy across the Channel. In truth, Edmund's eyes had indeed been fixed on the coast for weeks, watching for the Norman sails that never came. But when word reached him that York had fallen, that the banner of Ragnar Ironfist now flew over England's second city, he made a choice that few kings would have dared. Edmund did not hesitate. He gathered his household guard, his Huskers, seasoned warriors encased in iron, and rallied the furred levies from the shires. From London to York stretched nearly 200 miles, yet his army covered it in only 4 days. They marched through rain and mud, sleeping little, eating as they marched. By night they collapsed beside roadside fires. By dawn they rose again. Their boots beat the earth in relentless rhythm, the sound carrying across villages that watched in awe as the king's host swept northward like a storm. Ragnar, drunk on his victory, believed the English king far away. His men lounged by the river Derwent, near the village of Stamford Bridge, many without armor, their mail shirts left behind in York's storehouses. The day was warm, the late summer grass thick and golden. Some warriors played dice, others repaired gear, some lay drowsing in the sunlight. They expected only a routine exchange of hostages. Then the ground began to tremble. At first it was faint, like distant thunder, but soon the rhythm grew. Boots, hooves, steel on shield. A dust cloud rose on the horizon. A lone Norse scout raced back shouting words that froze the camp. The English are here! Panic erupted. Warriors scrambled for shields and weapons. Ragnar roared orders, trying to form ranks, but the English vanguard was already approaching the bridge. Here, one man earned eternal fame. A massive Norse warrior, armed with a great axe, planted himself on the wooden bridge. Alone he defied the oncoming English. Time and again they charged, and time and again his axe-cleaved shields, split helms, hurled bodies into the river below. He fought like a man possessed, buying precious minutes for his comrades to form a line. Legend says he held the bridge for nearly an hour, until an Englishman crept beneath the timbers and thrust a spear upward, striking him down. With the bridge cleared, King Edmund's army surged across. On the far bank, Ragnar's men hastily locked shields, many half-armed, some bare-chested in the sun. Yet they were hardened warriors, and their shield wall rose strong. The first collision was like a clap of thunder. Spears snapped, swords clashed, men grappled and fell upon blood-slicked grass. At the center stood Ragnar Ironfist, towering in his blue cloak, cutting down foes with sweeping blows of his sword. His voice bellowed above the din, rallying his men even as the English pressed harder. For hours the two armies clashed beneath the burning sun, neither yielding to feel the storm of iron and blood. Then fate turned. Ragnar surged forward in a furious charge, his sword flashing. An English arrow found its mark, slipping through the gap of his armor. It pierced his throat. Ragnar staggered, clutching at the Stormbreaker banner as it dipped toward the ground. With him fell the heart of the Norse host. King Edmund, seizing the moment, called out across the din, "Osric, yield! You will have your lands again, your pardon, your place. Spare your men and stand down." But Osric, consumed by pride and hatred, spat back defiance. He chose death over mercy. Soon he too fell beneath English blades, cut down beside his men. The Norse shield wall wavered, then collapsed. Panic spread. Some tried to flee toward their ships at recall, but English horsemen pursued them, cutting them down along the riverbanks. Of the mighty army that had sailed weeks earlier, only a remnant remained. From 300 ships, scarcely 24 were needed to carry the survivors back to their homeland. The age of the Viking invasions was finished. The dream of conquest died upon the grass of Stamford Bridge. Yet the English king's triumph came at dreadful cost. His army was bloodied, his men weary, their strength spent. Even as the dead lay unburied by the Derwent, messengers arrived with dire news. Duke William of Normandy had landed on the southern coast. The crown was not yet secure. King Edmund turned his exhausted host southward once more, toward a fateful encounter that would decide the destiny of England forever.